Welcome back, folks, to the WP-Tonic podcast. Today we got an amazing guest with us, Nathan Kligman. He is the joint founder of Book Like a Boss. So we're going to dive into Book Like a Boss, learn about what it is, how it can help, because ultimately booking meetings is how you close sales. Nathan, do you want to just quickly give us maybe a 30-second intro about yourself, and then we'll dive in?
About 30 seconds. So I've been an entrepreneur since birth. Got kicked out of every school I went to. Worked for somebody once and got fired after 5 months. Started a few companies in the high tech space. Got four patents in the video space. Started a Book Like a Boss about 5 years ago, and I live in Israel, and I have 9 children.
Wow, perfect. Jonathan, you want to introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Yes, hi there, folks. I'm the founder of WP-Tonic. We help entrepreneurs and businesses and education establishments build e-learning through learning management systems and through membership sites. We help you make money from e-learning or educate for your internal purposes. Back over to you.
Perfect. And I think I forgot to mention that this is episode 663. So for those that are counting,
no, 600 is 665 actually.
665.
Wow.
I got that wrong. Man, 2 more.
My lucky number.
Doing podcasts like crazy. All right. So we're going to take a quick break and hear from our major sponsor, and we'll be right back. All right, coming back, we just heard from Castus. They have some amazing deals going on right now. If you want to learn more about Castus, head to WPTonic.com/recommendations, and you can see all the recommendations that WP Tonic made and find some amazing deals on Castus. All right, Nathan, let's dive in here and learn just like what is the background story behind Book Like a Boss. You mentioned in your intro that you've done quite a few different businesses, but where did Book Like a Boss come from? How did you come up with that idea?
Absolutely. So what happened is after one of my companies, actually, I started an apparel company after being in high tech for about 15 years. And I wanted to design clothing for special needs children. And I said, how hard is it to create a shirt? And it was a lot harder than I thought it was. And, it was a labor of love, and I put, 2 years of my life into it. And due to manufacturing issues with China and some other issues with some investors, I had to sadly close it. And I was so burnt out because that, you guys know when you start a company, you put everything into it, and your blood, life and tears. And so I decided, I said, I'm going to take a break from entrepreneurship, take a break from starting companies, and I'm going to coach startups, and I'm going to write a book and start a podcast. And so I did. And my book did pretty well in its niche, and podcast also. And I had people were emailing me all the time saying, hey, can I take you out for coffee? Can I buy you lunch? Or call me up, said, hey, can I pick your brain? And I was just like, well, I charge for my time. Oh, how much you charge? Oh, I charge $250 an hour. Oh, wow, $250 an hour. What, well, what does that include? Can you tell me a little bit more? When it was a free cup of coffee, they didn't need all the details. Now we're paying money for it. So, let's hear a little bit more. And it was just a back and forth time waster. And, I said it would be great if I just had, when someone contacts me the first time, and they want to book me, I say, you know what, here's a link, go to it, see the different services I offer, right? See testimonials about me, read the frequently asked questions. So you have all your answers on the spot, learn more about me, and then book me and pay for it all from one place. And that way, that way I know that you're serious, and, you can confirm your booking and I get paid. But nothing like that existed. And so I tried building it in WordPress, funny enough. And I wasn't a WordPress expert. And so I butchered it. And I wanted to hire a WordPress expert, and he wanted like $3,000 to do it. And I was just like, forget it. I needed something that worked fast and that was good for mobile, and that when something got updated, it wouldn't throw off everything else. And so I was thinking about this problem, this pain point that I had. And then a couple of weeks later, a friend of mine whose sister is a masseuse, she emailed him and said, listen, I'm not technical at all. I'm just looking for like a one-page website where I could say, hey, these are the massages I offer. Here's my calendar. Let people book me and pay for it all from one page. Does such a thing exist? And so he emailed this because he knows I was into technology. And I said, wow, that's when the bug hit me. And I said, you know what? If she as a masseuse has this issue, and I as a business consultant has this issue, with the gig economy and 50% of millennials, having their side hustles, I bet there's a huge opportunity here to make it easy for people to sell services online. And I pitched a good friend of mine, my co-founder, David, who's a phenomenal developer. And he loved the idea. And we set off to build it, towards the end of 2015.
Nice. Wow. That's amazing. Jonathan, over to you.
Yeah, it's kind of linked to the first question. You kind of described the founding idea, but the reality is it's quite a competitive area. There's some big competitors, well-funded big competitors in the booking calendar. There's no lack of competitors. I don't know what the landscape was 5 years ago, if the competitive landscape was a bit less and they've just all come in. But it does seem, first of all, would you agree that it's quite competitive? And how did you this ain't your first pony that you've ridden, so you must have looked at that factor and you must have come to the conclusion that it wasn't going to deter you. Can you go through, first of all, would you agree with my fundamental question? And secondly, how did you look at it if you do agree with the first point?
Absolutely. It's a great question. So the online scheduling space was very crowded even back 5 years ago. There was hundreds of them. There were ones made specifically for WordPress. There was, of course, Calendly. There was, Schedule Once. There was 10 to 8. And there's a whole bunch of them. But for us, the funny thing is we didn't set out to create an online scheduling platform. That wasn't what we were about. We were looking to be the Shopify of services. That if you sell a service, whether you're a barber or a therapist or a doctor or a lawyer, an accountant, a bookkeeper, whatever it is, and you want a painter, plumber, technician, if you wanted an easy way to sell your service online, that was the market we were going after. The problem was because there was no real competitors in that space for what we were doing, it was hard to explain and teach the market. So when we first launched, it was suggested to us, we launched on AppSumo, and it was suggested to us to come out as an online scheduling app with benefits. And so when we first came out, we did go into that space, and because 90% of what we developed was scheduling, it was just, about another 10, 15% that was the secret sauce that made us different, especially in the early stages. Now we're way different. And it is a challenge because whenever in the first 30 seconds, whenever I start talking about Book Like a Boss, someone will say, so you're like Calendly. And like, no, we're not like Calendly. And as a matter of fact, if you go to notcalendly.com, you will see a landing page explaining exactly how we're not Calendly. And, over, 30 differences between us and them. So the online scheduling space is crowded, and you still see, even though it's crowded, you still see another 3 or 4 new companies coming up, SaaS companies coming up every year. AppSumo developed their own scheduling app to compete with Calendly, right? But that's really not where we're headed. We're not looking to be a scheduling app that, yes, we can do everything that these scheduling apps do, but we're really about creating unlimited customized landing pages for all your booking needs, right? It's not just a one-on-one meeting. You could run events through us. You could run memberships through us. You could run classes through us. You can run group bookings and masterminds and, video webinars, et cetera, right? So, and it's all simple and easy to use. So we really are headed in a different direction than what that space really is. So, and it's fascinating. I was just before this call, I was speaking to an accelerator that was looking into us, and I told them that the main thing that people when they understand who we are and our customers love us, and we have over 50,000 users now, that when we speak to them and we have like one-on-one meetings with them, they're just like blown away, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do this. Right, we just signed a contract. I just got it back today, about an hour ago, with a big university out of Florida that's using us to do campus tours. And they're like, we wouldn't know who to use if it wasn't for you guys, because you can't run campus tours with everything that we offer on something like Calendly. So there's a huge market and a huge opportunity. Now it's really about where we are as a company, and maybe talk about that as well, to really blow that out and get it out there.
Yeah, just a quick follow-through question. As I could tell you were getting quite passionate about it not being compared to Calendly. I don't gotta be honest with you, I don't totally follow your logic really, but you're much more successful than me, and you strike me as a very logical person. So it's that I'm not understanding, so it's down to me. What I mean by that is, does it really matter that they think that it's like Calgary? You know, that's a really big market, and if you add all these extra features, why was you getting so passionate that it's not compared to 100 million plus, a very large market? Does it really matter?
You know why? Because I think it's like you said before, like when you asked the question, like when you were coming into this market, did you saw the competition out there and you said, yeah, I want to get in here? That would have been crazy. If I would have said, hey, I want to build a new calendaring system, and I went up against, all these big, well-funded companies that have been around for years even and had millions of users, that I would have been, I would have been stupid to have done that, And that was never our intention, was to build a competitor to any of these guys out there. Our intention was always to be a platform that makes it simple to sell services online, take payments, and the pages are optimized. Another big difference between us is that you get a Calendly page, and it's a boring little calendar. With us, you can see videos, you can see photos, you can have frequently asked questions, you have testimonials, you have everything that's needed in order to close the sale, so that the pages themselves act as closings for your business.
Yeah,
That's
I
yeah.
think it's a superb product. I've got to be honest, to the tribe. That's what we call our listeners and viewers. Is I actually use your product for my own business, and I've upgraded it to the business level. And I've been using your product for the past 3 years, and it's a key part. If you go to we're a very strong part of the WordPress community, and I still choose to use your product.
Thank
Um,
you so much.
so, and you didn't pay me for that.
I did.
I'll be sending the invoice to you after the show.
Right.
Actually, over to Stephen.
That's really interesting. Hearing you explain the difference, because like I've used Calendly before, and like HubSpot meetings before, and all that stuff, and like it works great when you want to book a meeting and with a person that you already know, that you have a relationship with, and you have one thing that you're really offering, and they have payment stuff, but like it can get weird because like there's not that many variables that you can add to it. But in reviewing your product and kind of looking into it before this meeting, I was really impressed with like the sophistication that you can apply to your service, because there's this huge trend, I feel like, to try to productize your service, right? Like, how do you make your service more productized? And it seems like Book Like a Boss helps you kind of go down that avenue or that route on selling that service or product on the site. When somebody's like thinking about, all right, I have these services that I offer, I want to know how to get people to pay for them and book them. Like, how does somebody who hasn't like used any of these services before, or hasn't used Book Like a Boss, starts thinking through the strategy of how to roll that out to their clients and start selling it through a platform like Book Like a Boss?
Excellent question. So I assume you guys are on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the biggest problems with LinkedIn that I see is that you could go to somebody, you could see their profile, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe you'd want to follow up, maybe you'd want to hire the person, but there's no way to really do that. You don't see anything. You don't see what services they offer. You don't see how much they cost. You don't really see, being able to take the relationship to the next level other than messaging them. Right. So I get these messages all the time, from LinkedIn. Hey, how are you? Want to, can I tell you a bit more about myself? And it would be so much easier if you just send me one link that says, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what I offer. And then I can decide whether I want to book you or not. But at least now it's in my hands on my own time that I could see and learn more about you. Right. So definitely, using the link in your Twitter, on your Twitter page and LinkedIn, social media, your emails, right, wherever you want to spread the word. about your services
I just wanted to interrupt.
advertisements.
I just want to
Sure.
interrupt, which I sometimes
It's your show.
Well, it's obvious to me that LinkedIn need to hire you as a consultant because you got a much better idea what they should be doing than what they've got.
Well, they started dabbling in these areas, and sometimes when you're a company that's big, like someone asked me recently, am I worried about Calendly getting into doing what we're doing? And absolutely not. I mean, Calendly's huge. I mean, they're a multi-billion-dollar company valuation-wise and customer-wise, and I mean, they're doing extremely well. They are not looking to become a landing page company and to get into the service industry. They may add on different features, and they do that from time to time. We've even seen them copy some of our features that we've had out before them. And there's still obviously some that they're missing that people love about us. But they're not going to change their whole business model because some small company, with 50,000 users is, starting to make a little bit of noise. Right. So I'm not really too concerned about, the competition out there and, especially the big players. It's very hard for them to move. So like LinkedIn, yeah, they should. And I'll tell you guys a little secret between three of us. Right. This won't go anywhere. Right.
Yeah. Just
so
It goes out to about 5,000 people.
So I had a meeting with Micah Kaufman, who's the co-founder and CEO of Fiverr, a couple of years ago. He gave us an hour of his time. My co-founder and I, we met with him. Unbelievable guy. And he really loved what we were doing. And he gave me one bit of advice, which is, I don't know, which is going to be the future, what we're going to try to do with this product and something I just touched on. He said, if you could bring business to your users, then you'll be gold. Right. And it's the whole idea of like having a marketplace, and marketplaces we know are extremely difficult to create, and you need to put in millions of dollars because, if you don't have anybody coming to the website, nobody wants to be in there. And nobody wants to be in there if there's nobody coming to the website. Right. So what we did is strategically we said, okay, let's first get a product that's awesome, that people love and that can stand as itself. But the future of where we're going to be going with this product is that we're going to start to bring business to our users. And how we're going to do that, we'll have to wait. You'll have to wait and see. But that is going to be a big part we're going to do. But that is the idea of like LinkedIn. That it's such a shame. There's so many times I may see a creative writer or a designer and say, maybe I would use them, but I want to see a little bit more about them. I want to maybe book a 15-minute call, and to have to everything today is about saving time and making things smoother and work better and. It's a waste of time to have to go back and forth with people and say and waiting for them to reply, and then so you want to book my calendar? And there's a whole discussion. I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter. There's a whole big blow up now with people. People get really offended when someone sends them a calendar link, right? They do. It's like you have these guys. You have these VCs out there that are saying, "Who are you to send me your calendar link?" Right? You want to book with me? I'll send you my calendar link. Right?
You know what I think? I think they need to get their head up their arse. That's what I think.
It's true. It's an ego thing. It's like if there's no time, I'm like when I meet with somebody, of course I say, hey, here's my calendar link. Please let me know if any times work. If not, please feel free to send me your calendar link or let me know when you're available. But why should I have to wait to take it to the level of booking time? First to wait for you to send me let's save time and let's not be so uptight about it. That if someone sends you a calendar link, you get insulted, right? I'm just letting you know this is when I'm available. You don't like it, it's not good for you. That's fine. Let me know. But it's not meant to be a like I'm better than you. It's just that this is my availability based on the reality of life.
Yeah, that is a very strange idea because like by sending somebody a calendar link, you are increasing efficiency and it's practical. Like if you just look at it from a very like logical, practical standpoint, it's like it makes sense 100%. There's nothing that doesn't make sense about it. Right. But there is this weird thing in society that the person that sends you the link is somehow superior to the person that is receiving the link.
Why?
I think here's how I've made sense of it in my mind. And I think where it goes is because if you look historically, traditionally, assistants are the ones that are responsible for booking time, right? And so now you've delegated the booking time job to the person that you're trying to get to use your link. And I think it has something to do with this mental like shift. It doesn't make sense from a logical standpoint because it's easier, it's better, it's simple, it's faster. But I think,
is it ego? Is it ego?
yes, I think it's 100% ego driven because historically it was assistants that were like doing that. Yep.
Right.
I think that's where it lies.
We need to go for our break.
Oh, sorry. I was getting excited. All right. We're going to go for a break. We will be right back. All right. Coming back, I'm having a really great discussion with Nathan from Book Like a Boss. If you have time, head over to the WP-Tonic website and sign up for the newsletter. You're going to get some great emails outlining some deals and everything that's going on with the WP-Tonic. All right, so jumping back in here, we've been talking about calendars, booking meetings with people, how Book Like a Boss can help do that. One of the big questions that has been circulating around in my head is the idea of introducing friction to the sales flow. So if somebody's interested in purchasing my services, my product, if I just send them a link to book time that they can just book time whenever they want, they don't have to charge for it, I'll book a lot more meetings that way. And then maybe I can convert the person into a paying user. If I say no to book 30 minutes with me, it's $150 or whatever you want to charge for your time. All of a sudden, I'm going to see a huge drop off in those bookings, I would assume. You've been, building this company, and I'm sure you've seen thousands and thousands of bookings go through. Like, what is your view on like putting that paywall? Is it worth it? Will you ultimately end up in a better place? What's the perception around that?
Excellent question. And again, the purpose of Book Like a Boss is to help you close sales. And you're right. Some people get turned off if they say, hey, you got to pay me to meet with me. But what I suggest, and what we have what's called different types of booking pages. So one of our booking pages is called Appointments. And that's your regular scheduling app, right? And what I suggest to do is that you take one day of the week, maybe it's Mondays, and you open it up for 10-minute intro calls. And you'll open it up for, maybe take 5 or 6 intro calls on a Sunday. And you use that to book people that could be possible clients of yours. Now, when they book, you could pre-qualify them with asking specific questions. You could make it required. You could ask, different details about them, what their revenue is, or, what their goals are. Ask them whatever questions at the time of booking. So you already have a pretty good understanding for the are. Now, one of the things that we allow you to do is to not allow the booking to go through until you confirm it. That was a big feature request from a lot of our users that we implemented a couple of years ago that Calendly doesn't have, and probably others don't. Also, is that the booking doesn't go through until you confirm it. So you could confirm and just say, you know what, I appreciate your time, but I realize it's not going to work out for us, or it's not, you're not the right client, or I couldn't be helpful to you, whatever those things are. So you could actually cut down through the system by getting those answers and offering the free 10-minute slot. You could cut down on wasted people that you feel is not a good fit for you, right? But then at the same time, you'll then also have 3, 4, 5, 6 people on a Monday that could be good intro calls, and you could follow them up after the intro call and say, hey, it was a great call. Let's take this to the next level, and then send them, another link which they could book and pay for your time, right? Or sell them a book, or or any other type of upsell, right? So we do allow for those free bookings, and then which is a separate app in the page, and then we also allow you to sell services as well.
Nice. That's smart. So you kind of let the user decide, like, hey, do I want to do this free, really quick call, or do I want to just move straight to that purchasing and get like I already know I need this service. I know they're going to be helpful. I'm going to buy it, an hour of
Absolutely.
time right up front.
Absolutely. And that way, yeah.
I also think it's based on reputation, because, if you're dealing with somebody that's hugely experienced, spent a lot of time promoting themselves, building a very large online audience, that's seen as a top-notch consultant, they're going to have to ask you to pay some money up front, because because they just don't. They've got a limit. The one thing that's really limited is their time. So they're going to get thousands of people approaching them. So it's got to be a way of filtering those that really want to talk to that individual, doesn't. So that's I want to get on to the other question. Obviously, what have been some of the biggest surprises, things that you didn't anticipate in the journey of Book Like a Boss over the 5 years?
So things I didn't anticipate. One, I definitely did not anticipate how long things take to develop. Right, we decided to be a bootstrap company, and probably if I knew then what I know now, excuse me, I may have decided to raise money earlier, or to have gone a different route. Because as a visionary and someone that has like real ideas of where I want the product to go, I still feel even after 5 years we're just getting started, and there's so many more things that we want to do. So many things we have to do, but when you're limited in funds, you can only have X amount of developers, and apparently, you can't just snap your fingers and expect them to get things out. And so there've been things that I thought should only take a month that it ended up taking 6 months, and it's just extremely frustrating. But it's just the reality. I mean, it's not like, my team is awesome; they're great developers, but when you have a code base the size of ours now. And when something happens, we get immediate response, from hundreds and hundreds of people, in support, because we have so many tens of thousands of people using you, that tends to happen. So we have to be very careful. Things just take time, and you have to make sure the code is clean, and you have to make sure that there's no bugs, and you have to, test and test. And when you're a small team, that makes it challenging. So that was one thing I wasn't expecting, but maybe I would have done a little bit differently, but is what it is.
So I'm really part of the WordPress community, but also involved myself with Rob Rowling, the joint founder of Drip, the email marketing before he sold it, and he runs this micro conference.
Sure.
I don't know if you're aware, Rob's a great guy and his wife are fantastic people. And they run Tiny Seed, where they offer visa finance to people that are also bootstrapping their company. So do you think that was, I think you already said it, that you might have been best to have looked at some outside investment, but not true VC investment, because then you got because they're looking for unicorns, aren't they? And they put so much pressure on you. But you think you should have got some outside money earlier. Is that right?
So yes and no. Yes, about getting some outside money earlier, or at least more. Like, I was, the first investment was 200 grand, and then I think we raised 60 grand from someone else, and then maybe 150 grand. And it was done in piecemeal because I kept trying to wait as long as possible before having to take money. We did a lot of lifetime deals, that brought in, 6 figures multiple times, which was a great cash infusion. And then we took on some debt equity as well, because I really didn't want to bring on mainstream investors. And I in one of my previous startups, I brought on VCs and raised close to 10 million for it, and it was a disaster in the end. It was, when you take money from VCs, their goals are not your goals, right? And so that's part of like the name Book Like a Boss, is that we want to be bosses of our own destiny. And in fact, we didn't take any investment money until we were already making money. That was one of the conditions I put on taking money, because I've been down the route before about taking investors' money, and when an investor invests with you, you have to treat it more important than your own funds, right? You have to, and so you never want to lose an investor's money. So I said, this time if we take money from Book Like a Boss, it's going to be already generating revenue. It's not just some idea, but something that people love, use, and are making money with. And it took us a year and a half from the time we started developing before we actually took in that first investment. So like an organization like Tiny Seed, and I think they're like a stepping stone. They expect you to be that tiny seed, but then get to your pre-seed, and then take your seed, and then to your Series A, Series B, and maybe go that VC route. It's hard to find investors, angel investors, that just are looking to make, what we're looking to do is to create a cash cow, to build it up as big as we possibly can. Can Book Like a Boss be $1 billion company? Can it be a unicorn? I think that the potential is there. Do I want to be running the team that gets it to that space? That I don't know. That's a question I ask myself and my partner, because we could, I don't want to, we only have one life to live, right? And I have 9 kids. I have an amazing wife, and my community life is extremely important to me. And so, do I want to manage a 300-person team? Do I want to, do I want to have that pressure from investors that have poured millions and millions of dollars into you? Not necessarily, right? So, but I want to create something that actually helps people and it helps them earn an income, whether it's a side hustle or full-time income. I want to take pride in helping people do that. And I do want to make as much money as possibly can, but my goal isn't necessarily to be a $1 billion company.
Nice. Perfect. Well, we're at the close of our time here.
No.
For the podcast part.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
podcast. But we do have bonus content. So if you're up for it, Nathan, will you hang around for another 15 minutes and do a little more chatting with us for bonus content? Awesome. Before we head out, Nathan, can you let people know how they can find out more about you and what you're up to?
Sure. Obviously, definitely check out booklikeaboss.com. The best way is sign up for a 14-day free trial. And of course, if you think that we're like Calendly, go to notcalendly.com to see how we're not Calendly.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. And do you guys know we have a special offer for your listeners? Is it? Can I?
No, I didn't know, but please tell, and I'll make sure it's all in the show notes.
Okay, fantastic. So when you guys check us out, and if you want to upgrade to a paid plan, just use coupon code WP-Tonic, WP-Tonic, and we're going to give you 25% off of any annual or monthly plan, because we love your audience and we love you guys. And, I think it's just a big fit with probably the people that listen to this podcast.
Yeah, I think it is. And I will personally recommend the product because it's used on the WP-Tonic website, and I've been really delighted with it over the years. So
awesome.
Jonathan, how can people learn more about you?
Just go to the WP-Tonic website. Look at all the other great guests we've had, the knowledge that we've shared in the WordPress SaaS community. Like I say, we're up to 665 episodes. We've had some great interviews, and also join us on the Roundtable show every Friday where we have a panel of WordPress and technology expert, and we have great fun taking the mickey out of some of the biggest names in tech, which is just delicious, listeners and viewers. Back over to you, Stephen.
Perfect. Thanks, Jonathan. Please join us on the WP-Tonic Mastermind Facebook group. You can find out what we're all about and everything that's going on. And you can watch the bonus content, which we're heading into right now. So you can watch the bonus content on the Facebook group and also the YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. See you all next week. Bye. All right, bonus content. So Nathan, we usually do bonus content for about 15 minutes here and just kind of dive in a little bit deeper. I would love to hear maybe kind of some of if you were like mentoring a startup founder or somebody that was looking to start a business, where would you tell them to start? Like there's oftentimes like people say, start with a business plan, or start with a product, or start with market research. Like what would your advice? I mean, you've started several different companies. I'm sure you have a wealth of wisdom. Like where do you think someone should begin?
I try to keep things very basic. I'm not a big believer in business plans. I'm a big believer in doing. Right? I think the biggest education is to go and do. But I do suggest there are two very important things that every entrepreneur before you're starting a company should think about. One is, what is the pain point you're solving? Right? When I started Book Like a Boss, as we mentioned before, there was the pain point of making it simple to sell services online. I, as a business coach, had that. There was a masseuse that had that. And so I realized there was a market for it. Right? Then I had no problem jumping in. I didn't write a business plan. I just said, I'm just going to go and do it and build it. And, so that was more important. And because I wasn't looking for investments, or, most people don't go to banks anymore where they ask you for a business plan. But it depends on the type of person you are. A lot of people, they need to have it written out. They need to have it, in front of them and have something they can refer to and study. It's just not my personal style, but I would definitely not tell someone not to do it. So definitely find a pain point. And then once you find that pain point, then you must, and this is a must, you must ask potential users if they would pay enough money for you to make it worthwhile, right? Because if it's a pain point, but in order for you to make a profit and run a profitable business, you need to charge a number that people are not going to pay, then it doesn't make sense to do it, right? So you have to both see if the pain point is, if you're solving a pain point, and if people are willing to pay to solve that pain point and how much they're willing to pay. And then if you're based on your numbers, if you're able to pay your bills and grow in order to do that.
That's great. I totally agree with what you just said there. Like I say, I'm in the world of WordPress and I'm in the world of SaaS because my own business kind of crosses. I see WordPress as becoming, it's a term that's was generated by somebody that's well known in the WordPress community, Jonathan World, that WordPress is going to become the operating system of the web. You know, WordPress has got up to 43 to 45% of all websites. So I see the worlds of WordPress and SaaS kind of merging a lot more. First of all, do you think what I've just said, am I maybe on the right path? And have you looked at your own, because it's very much as a separate, it's one of the few separate services that I utilize that hasn't come from the world of WordPress, or has been a WordPress plugin and now offers a kind of hosted SaaS solution. You're one of the few services that I use myself that's outside that world. Have you looked at WordPress and try and see any possibilities integrating your own service into WordPress?
Absolutely. We wanted to create a plugin years ago already. And it's part of that thing, of being bootstrapped and not having a huge team, that the things that are important, the things you want to do sort of just like sit in your to-do list. And you have to always prioritize what's the most important thing. And because we have an embed that enables you to embed on WordPress sites, so we weren't feeling that push at all, that pain as much as we really should. But even though knowing that having an official plugin and being in the marketplace could bring in potentially thousands of new users, it's still on our to-do list. It's something that we want to do. And I hope to, maybe you probably know somebody that could help us get that done. It's definitely something we should be looking into in 2022.
Yeah, I think
in terms of, in terms of what you were saying about it being, listen, I thought it was more. I thought it was like 65% of websites run on WordPress. I mean, it's here to stay, and it is definitely going to be, a huge, part of the web. I don't know if it'll fully take over. There are some new systems out there that people are tending to use, but I mean, it's a giant, and you could definitely bank on it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Can I just ask another question, Stephen? Do you mind?
Yeah.
The other factor, because we seem to have similar backgrounds, because I didn't do that well at school because I have dyslexia, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the toolbox, but I don't think I'm the bluntest either. So I used to get a lot of frustration from my teachers because I couldn't give them what they thought I was just taking the mickey out of them, because I couldn't in the end produce what they were looking for. I think you said that you didn't find school all that engaging. I don't want to get too personal, but if you're prepared to share it, why do you feel that you didn't? Because you've been highly effective as an adult, by the sound of things.
So it's funny. I just had a question. I had a discussion with I think the CEO of Microacquire on Twitter, where he had posted that you shouldn't leave your job, or you should make sure you have a job and an income before you start a company. And I was like, well, a real entrepreneur can't work for someone else, and that caused a lot of a buzz and comments on that. And what I meant by that is that I can't work for somebody. I always had a problem with authority since I was young, and for better or for worse, that that was who I was. And even as a student, when I was 11, 12 years old, and obviously through high school, I'm not saying I was correct, because I think you need to be respectful to teachers and you need to be respectful to your parents. But back then, they didn't have ADD, ADHD. You know, they just had, you were wrong, you were a bad boy, you weren't listening, and we couldn't control you, right? So, so I always had this thing where I never felt anybody was better than I was, or who are they just because they're older that they could tell me what to do. It was a very bad attitude, and I got kicked out of a lot of schools. I went to 3 different high schools, got kicked out of all of them. I left high school at the end of my junior year, and I took I took my GEDs and I actually enrolled myself into college. And college was actually fantastic. I actually was doing extremely well because there was nobody over you. There's nobody looking over your shoulders. Nobody telling you you have to do your homework. There's nobody, it gave me that freedom to learn, at my own pace and without the being stymied by people telling you what to do. You were treated as an adult and you were respected as an adult. Now, I've become more religious over the years, and I realized that attitude was not a great attitude. But at the same, and there's always someone above you, but at the same time, I felt as an entrepreneur, I can't work for anybody. I can't physically do it. Even during the hard times, even when my electricity was shut off in my home, or I didn't have food to eat, or I had to depend on charity of others at times, which was very hard to do. But I couldn't go to the local pizza place and peel potatoes for them. It just wasn't in me to do. And thank God I just celebrated my 23rd wedding anniversary last week. And thank God my wife, in 23 years of marriage, through all the ups and downs, she never once ever said or told me to get a job. It was, she knows who I am and she loves me for who I am. And she's always been the wind beneath my wings and has always been there for me. And that is so tremendously important, is that if you're in a relationship with somebody, that person should be, backing you and understanding who you are, and not be that person that says, hey, maybe it's time. And I had a very close friend of mine who sat me down once when I was on a low point and said, maybe it's time to give up on your entrepreneurship, and maybe it's time just to get a job and work for someone else. And it pained me so much that my relationship is still affected till today, because here was someone that's supposed to be my best friend, someone that I was super close with. And if he knew me well enough, knew that it wasn't an option for me. And it wasn't, we talked about ego before. It wasn't an ego thing. It's just, I couldn't see myself spending my time making someone else money, right? I couldn't see myself, saying, yes, boss, and saying, yes, sir. And having to, if I come 15 minutes late because I wanted to take my kids to school, that someone's looking at their watch saying, how come you weren't here on time? It just, as a young age, that's always been something that's affected me. And I think that a lot of real entrepreneurs, I think maybe Jonathan, maybe you're the same way, Steve, I'm just getting to know you a little bit, but it's very hard, especially once you've tasted entrepreneurship, it's very hard to put you in a place where you got to start listening to others and meeting the demands of others.
It's kind of a bad, because I totally agree with you. I couldn't work, but I do like working with other people in partnerships. I'm a great believer in smoothing. Some of my panel on my Friday show says I'm a committed smoozer, but I take that as a compliment, because I think business is all about relationships, really. So I take that as a compliment, really. But
Absolutely. No. So it is obviously, when this, I forgot his name, from the CEO of Microacquire. So he commented back, about working, and I said, listen, I work extremely hard, and I work for my bosses who are our customers. I work for my family, and I work for my community, and and I work for my team that believes in me and looks at me as a leader. It's not about hard work. I'm not afraid of hard work, and I'm not afraid of putting in the time, and I'm not afraid of partnerships and relationships. It's that aspect of, if I'm going to do this, I want to put my all into something. It's got to be, for my dreams, my visions, not someone else's.
Yeah, it's not a 9 to 5 scenario, is it? Being an entrepreneur, you do
Absolutely.
have freedom. There is no 9 to 5. There is, sometimes I'm working till 1 o'clock at night, But for about 3 hours in the afternoon, I took 3 hours off, but I'm still working till 1 o'clock at night.
Absolutely. It's it's about 10 minutes to 8 p.m. now, and after this meeting, I have another meeting. And there are many times even before I go to sleep at night, which is usually around 12:30, 1 a.m. I'm still doing customer success and looking at what tickets have come in, and if I wake up in the middle of the night, I'll check my phone and people don't know that I'm like lying in bed and I'm answering their questions and helping them and doing tech support, right? But that's because, that's what it takes to succeed. And that's what it takes, that type of dedication to your customers.
Well, you're a little bit more dedicated to me because I don't do that in bed. But I don't know if Stephen, but maybe that's too personal to ask Stephen. I'll leave that for his wife to tell me. I think we need to wrap up the show, Stephen. And
yeah, for sure. Really appreciate the personal story and the insights. I think that being an entrepreneur is a lot of fun, but also has some very hard moments in it. But it's those hard moments that I think really are the solidifying things that make you realize that working for yourself is, what you really want to do. And it's not just a fun idea or a fun hobby. It's like, no, this is something that's deeper in my core. I just had I had a friend asking me what I was going to do if, our company failed someday. Like, would I go work for somebody else or start another company? It's like, I would have to start another company. Like, I don't know where else I would work.
I just wanted to say Stephen's been a partner of WP-Tonic, and Stephen has had to put up with some of my craziness. So surprising, audience. And he's been him and his company have been rock solid. And I would highly recommend Stephen to anybody that's looking for high-end development partner in WordPress. So, sorry, I thought I would say that.
Yeah, well, we'll just end on that high note. I like it. No, everyone should head over, check out Book Like a Boss. WP-Tonic uses it and loves it. And they have, sounds like, some extremely interesting takes on how to book time and services outside of just the traditional Calendarly or meeting links that we all know, but some more actual, real, practical landing page, real world uses. So everyone should head over there and check them out. Thank you so much for taking the time, Nathan, to hang out with us, chat with us, let us learn more about you, yourself, and Book Like a Boss. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show.
We'll see you soon, folks.
Take care. Bye.